What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the League Podcast. My name is Andy Belford, a.k.a. Riot Zwill, and I'm part of the player relations team here at Riot Games. Joining me today is my favoriteest co-host ever. Hi, Dylan. It's a Dylan most dirty, Dylan Buckner.
Why am I here again?
Huh?
No, I'm sorry. What? No, I'm excited to be here.
You're here because you're a gigantic nerd.
This is true.
This is very true.
Board games.
Board games. Oh, that's a little foreshadowing. It's not even foreshadowing. That's just straight up spoiling what we're going to be talking about today.
You know, I thought they probably got it from the title. The thing they clicked on. But
the title
maybe
that
that's
says,
just me.
Riot makes a board game. Well, you know what? Before we get into it, let's go ahead and introduce our two special guests today. Joining us today, we have somebody with possibly the best summoner's name that I've actually heard since I started here at Riot. It's Rick Ernston. Rick, what is your summoner name?
Mr. Pittlesworth.
Okay, so I'm going to digress a little bit. Do you have like a dog or something named that, or this feels like a small dog's name?
It does. It does sound like a small dog's name. But no, the first summoner icon I picked was that little teddy bear dude, and so I named him Mr. Pittlesworth.
You mean Tibbers?
That's, no. That's canon now. That's
canon.
the story.
It's no longer. So Annie now says, "Have you seen my bear, Mr. Pittlesworth?"
Let's call it Foundations.
Okay,
and we'll tell them what's what.
Speaking of which, all right. Also joining us today is Chris Cantrell. Chris, what is your summoner's name?
Cades.
Cades.
Yep.
Cades. That's Kades. Now everybody's gonna go home and like add Cades to my friends list.
Some of them may remember, Chris. You've been here for quite some time.
Yeah.
I remember you used to be a little more active before we put you in a deep dark room somewhere.
Yeah. I did. I
used to do QA, right?
I did. I started on the gameplay team.
Gotcha.
And worked on champions and new champions as they were coming out back when we did them every couple weeks and before we slowed our cadence.
Cool.
Yeah.
So welcome back to player-facing stuff.
But now we have you locked away in the secret vault of creative development. And when I say this, folks who are listening at home, like you should know, the creative development team, who is the team that these fine gentlemen are a part of, is actually often a kind of a remote building on campus. It's in the back of the campus, and everybody walks by it and they go, "Ooh, what's back there?" And we're like, "That's where creative development is."
Got to give the weird dudes their space to think.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, that's actually what you get. You're the idea people here at Riot Games.
Stop
right?
flattering him.
Yeah, no. Well, we're idea people. That's
that's an apt description.
He's not going to be easy to deal with after this.
Didn't you know I'm an idea person?
Yeah.
Give us the TLDR though for the players listening out there. Just what is this CDev that mega team that encompasses a lot of other stuff?
Right. So CDev stands for Creative Development and has a number of different teams on it. Like the Foundations team that was on here not long ago.
Okay.
And then it's the group that does the documentary work or Riot Records. They really try and find other explorations of the League IP that we can share with our players.
Like board games. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I was a little confused at first. I was like, what do you have to do with a metal album? But okay,
Right.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Everything.
I didn't work on that. Yeah.
So just to be clear, like you all aren't working on super top secret like new game like Game 2 or something like that. You all are. You're working on kind of like League adjacent ideas.
Yes, they leave the smart and very capable people to do that. We are the creative development group.
I'm pretty sure you all are pretty capable. So you guys are here talking today about a really cool project and something that I think Dylan and I are both excited about because we are both kind of board game aficionados.
Yeah.
Like I have a semi-regular board game night at home, so
Awesome.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
And it's something that's, I think, part of Riot's culture. We have a very regular board game night every 2 weeks here at Riot.
Mm-hmm. Usually have like 50 people. I mean,
That's insane. That's
pretty
crazy.
large
50
group.
people.
Yeah.
Wow. What are some of the, really quickly, what are some of the favorite games played at board game night?
Man, it varies. One of the things I love about it is they're always finding new games and bringing those out. But I guess right now for me, Cry Havoc, I was able to pick up Seafall over at Gen Con. So I think we're excited.
Scythe was a big one the last game night.
Yeah. Scythe was a lot of fun.
All I know is
how did you turn out in that game? How did that go for you?
All right. So when we played Scythe, we were playing with people that I didn't.
So what is Scythe?
Scythe is an area control game, and it's a phenomenal game. Kind of takes place in like the I'm going to get this wrong, but 1920s or 1930s, but in an alternate history where they have like these huge mechs. but like it's a mixture of like mechs and like farmland and you're just trying to take over areas so that you can kind of control the area surrounding this place called the factory that makes all the mechs.
So it sounds kind of
awesome.
like steampunky, early
Yeah.
20th century tech type of thing.
Actually, one of the things I like about it is it's uniquely its own. Like usually you can spot something like, oh, that's a steampunk. All right, oh, that's that. And Scythe, for me at least, was a very kind of a new take on it. And we were playing a game, I guess, about a month back, so not too long ago, and my first time playing Scythe, and we were playing with people who I hadn't played with before, and I was just trying to be a nice guy, and in Scythe, you can either be aggressive or you can go, with an economy kind of strategy, and I went with an economy strategy because I didn't want to, like, my neighbors were people I didn't know, and I didn't want to, like, attack her, and then on the very last turn of the game, we'd had like this really diplomatic friendship where I'm just kind of doing my own thing, and she just attacks me and crushes me and then wins the game in one fell swoop, and I learned a lesson that day.
Tragic.
Curse their sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yes.
Trust no one.
Well, that is a good lesson to learn. So, speaking of board games and our love for board games here at Riot, we have made a board game, and we're calling it Mechs versus Minions.
Yeah.
This is extremely exciting. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what? Just give us kind of the elevator pitch, the TLDR of what Mechs versus Minions is.
So, Mechs vs. Minions is a cooperative game. So it's fully co-op for 2 to 4 players, and it uses programming movement as kind of its core mechanic. And it's a campaign-based game. So the levels have modular boards, and they're kind of set up differently, and each pass at it. And I think for people who play a lot of board games, like a lot of modern board games, I'd probably closest describe it with like a hybrid between Robo Rally and Descent or Imperial Assault.
I love Robo Rally.
Yeah?
That's a great game. Have you ever played it?
No.
Oh,
I've been hearing about it for a while.
Yeah,
This is part of the problem with board games these days. They're coming on so strong
Yes.
that there are 1 billion of them to play.
Well, and that's interesting. It's kind of like, you may ask why board games right now, and I mean, we were talking about this earlier, but board games are kind of in a renaissance right now. Like it's a hot commodity.
Yeah. Growing up for me, it was games like Risk and Monopoly, and when I first heard about like modern board games, I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. But honestly, in the past 5-10 years, the design sense behind board games has just grown exponentially, and for me at least, it's something that's really fun for me and my kind of core gamer group of friends, where we sit around and we can play a game in person. And I think there's something really awesome about playing behind my computer, because I can play with my friends and like Toledo. I actually don't know anyone in Toledo, but I can play with people all over the country. So there's something there, but there's also something really nice about sitting around a table with your friends and either just crushing them or like in this game, you would work on a goal together or something like that.
And we were chatting before, and you mentioned something interesting about which I don't want to say it blew my mind, but it was a surprising comparison between how League, when it first started out, it was not envisioned to be the massive worldwide thing it would eventually become. It was specifically targeted at players of the original Dota mod, and intended to offer some things like matchmaking and accounts that would make that experience more accessible and complete. But very specifically targeted that core group of gamers in a genre that was kind of up and coming at the time, that being MOBAs, and this is almost a parallel in that way, that this genre has been coming on so strong lately, and we wanted to make something that would really satisfy the hardcore people. It seems like that's my impression looking at this mammoth box.
Well, Rick, you're the lead designer on this beautiful game that we have. We have it actually laid out in front of us right now, and we have all the minis and all the little pieces. By the way, I'm going to be the fanboy here and say that this is extremely high quality. Like, I own a lot of board games, and this setup looks really like I'm looking forward to playing it. But Rick, you're the lead designer on this. Like, what were you trying to accomplish when setting out to design like a game that kind of embraced the IP, the intellectual property of League of Legends?
Well, my trajectory with board games is a little bit different than Chris's, as he mentioned. He comes from like Monopoly and and games like that. And he's been excited to see games turn into like this more elaborate, more mature hobby. And kind of I came to it from a different direction. Like the games I grew up on were like BattleTech and a Middle Earth board game that had, I think, about 500 pieces, right? So it was like the really arcane, Squad Leader and like super.
This is my kind of guy.
Yeah.
Games.
Really, hardcore, hard to get into games. And so while this is very much for the hardcore game player, to me, I've really seen games become a lot more accessible. They're, higher production value. They're made with a lot more attention to the quality of the experience.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you love the way it looks and the unboxing and everything. Chris and I really saw this as an opportunity to kind of go big because we didn't know if we'd get another chance. So it's like, if we're only going to get to make one, let's do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really cool as you talk about like the quality of board games these days. When you look at things like Small World and like King of Tokyo and stuff like that, where they have kind of, I think, simplified the experience a little bit itself, but they've upped the quality and like the kind of the storytelling of the game in a way to the point where it's a great experience now, especially if you're just getting into the hobby. Like, I think it's amazing. So like this definitely translates that.
And it's this.
Go ahead.
It's the storytelling, I think, that really was a lot of the impetus here. You have a game like Robo Rally, which is very much.
Awesome.
It's a competitive. It's an awesome game.
Yeah,
it's competitive, but it doesn't really tell a story larger than a race, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool, but it's quick. Then you have Descent on the other hand, which is very story heavy, and it's like it's playing a D&D game on a tabletop. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to have sort of that quick play that Robo Rally brought to the table, where you can set it up, play a game out. But then has the sort of longevity that a game like Descent or Dungeons and Dragons have, where you're constantly being faced with new challenges, and the lessons you learn from previous scenarios you carry forward, and you change things up slightly. Maybe you fail. This is one of the things that Chris and I both feel strongly about, is that co-op games need to be really pretty tough. Like you need to feel like you've accomplished something when you succeed. So we've it's not an easy game, and I think our success rate for most of the scenarios is around 50%, on average. So you'll probably lose half of your games easy, and some of them very quickly. But then the goal was to give the player room to change his tactics, change the loadout, change the teamwork, and what everyone wants to, the way they go about it. And so we really wanted to create something that every time you came back to it and played a different scenario, or even played the same scenario again, you had to bring something new, right? So rather than playing the same game and having, have that kind of become rote, we wanted to be something that kind of grows and develops.
So basically, in another way that the board game experience kind of parallels the League in that way, where there is that real depth, like where it's like it's never the same game twice. Like there's a whole lot of different variables. Like so, like walking us through, like obviously we don't want to get into the nitty gritty like playthrough details of a board game on a podcast, because that might actually be a little bit awkward to do. But like, so how, like you said, you can fail, you can lose the game, but you can lose fast. Like how long should each session, like each mission, so it's divided up into missions, right?
Yep, 10 missions.
10 missions.
Man, I'm looking at one of these sweet top secret Operation Short Fuse envelopes. This thing is amazing. You guys went so all out on just the like lore and feel.
Yeah, definitely. Like speaking of telling the story and like experiencing the whole like the storytelling of it.
Yeah,
like,
I'm looking at a letter from Rumble, dean and headmaster of of Rumble's intense training of programmable labs. This is amazing, man. It's like on parchment and checklist on the back. And stuff.
It is, yeah. It's great.
Sorry, you were saying though, how long for one of these sessions?
Okay, so 10 scenarios. Each one, it varies on the group, but generally about an hour.
Okay.
It generally 40 to maybe 80, 90 minutes.
Okay.
depending on the group. Now, we've had some groups that are like super fast and they just crank through, especially after they've played a little bit and they've got their tactics and their builds down. These are like the pro level.
Right.
But then we've got other players, other groups are, taking their time, and we've had them take two and a half hours.
Sure.
But, that's going to be your group. It varies on, how quickly things move and how much time you spend.
So it's not quite King of Tokyo, which is like a super fast, like, 15-minute game.
Right.
But it's also not quite Axis and Allies, which is a weekend long.
Oh, so near and dear to my heart. On that note, it was interesting. My personal experience with the game has been very interesting. I did a bit of playtesting for you guys.
Thank you.
Maybe like 6 months ago. Yeah, my pleasure. And I actually, kind of similar to you, Rick, much more of a war gamer. That's once you leave that space, my experience with board games, rapidly drops off. So this was a kind of cool, fresh experience with me that got me into all the possibilities there are, and I definitely experienced that. I showed up and I'm I feel pretty hot shit with video games or with board games a lot of the time, but the three other guys in my group were you guys weren't kidding when you said we were in the expert group, and the best part about that was it showed me how accessible it is in a fun way through the whole like card system that offers so much replayability and kind of a choose your own path approach, but how crazy deep it is. We had guys in our group number crunching and stuff and pulling out combos that I couldn't even see how they worked by the time they were pulling them off and stuff like that. So there's the league comparisons are frequent, everything from being able to choose whether to go more killy to actually playing a support role where you're buffing up your other three guys at the extent of your own capability, to the level of replayability and like the depth of how good you can get at this game. I feel like I want to play it again because I know I can do better.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, we had league QA and playtest guys come in, and they spent a lot of time with it, and they got really deep into it, and they got to the point where they were like naming builds, and it's like,
oh yeah,
I think this one needs a stomp and rip, and they're like, all right,
sure.
And so they've got their plans. The part of the fun of it though is since as you're playing through, you're not always sure you're going to get exactly what you need to build optimally. Like you can't just say it's like, all right, well, we've got our strategy down. You might not get the cards you need. You might get damage in exactly the wrong spot, and you have to adapt. And so that's part of what brings the variety to each playthrough, even when
Sure.
you're playing with the same people and you're playing the same scenario.
Well, and you can also play as different characters. I know that is such an immediate thing I always check into. Nothing's worse for me than like an RTS, for example, where the different sides are too similar.
Right.
I crave that variety. So like that StarCraft Holy Trinity is a great thing for me. And I know I really enjoyed diving into this, where at base the characters kind of start the same, but then there's a modifier system through their like champion-specific cards, right? That lend themselves to unique play styles as well as kind of a choice about how you want to go about it. And there's a ton of flavor, like Ziggs, he's got bombs.
Yeah.
Heimerdinger's got a lot of like crafty stuff on his, I remember.
Yes.
So let's actually get into that a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
Stop
nerding out.
Some real basic questions, I guess. How many players is the game meant for?
2 to 4.
2 to 4 players. Okay. We already established about 2 hours at the longer onset, sometimes shorter, just depending upon your skill level with the game itself. So for a first time group of players, like when they first open up that box, how long do you think it's going to take them to figure, just to like at least get started, like rolling dice and playing the game?
Well, the way we've set it up is each scenario has its own kind of dossier to tell you how to set up and what the rules are. And so because of that, you don't actually have to read the rule book to play. You just have to read the tutorial. That first dossier tells you how to set everything up, gives you the rules you need, and you can probably get that all set up and play and be rolling dice in like 10-15 minutes without a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this pro tip sheet, and I feel like from what I recall, this would get you going.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we try to introduce new mechanics and new twists in the scenarios as they go. So you should be up and running with the tutorial in like 15 minutes. And we've generally found it maybe takes a half an hour to play through. So you should actually be done and into the first scenarios in less than an hour.
So we're actually going to be doing kind of like our own like tutorial play test later this week. I'm really excited about that. In preparation for a live stream that we're going to do, which should be a lot of fun. So shouldn't be a whole lot of complicated setup then. It's pretty much just like open it up, read the first mission, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
It is. I will say it is kind of an intimidating box. Like when you open it up, there's a lot of bits and pieces, and
Right.
you know, the tutorial book is right there on top, and it kind of steps you through it. But you know, I think that's a fair first reaction. Is
Well,
like,
shoot,
whoa,
the
there's a
box
lot.
itself is made to look like metal, and
Yeah.
it's so solid. Like even the cardboard itself is really dang solid.
Yeah.
It gives it's definitely an intimidating thing. And you're right. I mean, there's 100 plus pieces in here, 100 plus cards, a ton of variety to all the pieces and everything like that. And I remember that was actually a worry of mine during playtesting. I was like, hey, there's a lot of like dice and trackers going on and everything. But I know then part of the problem is that we were dealing with like, you know, paper chits or
Yes.
like marks on a whiteboard and stuff. And
You were doing
guys have,
prototyping,
yeah, you guys have put a ton of work into making all of these individual pieces and markers and dice very distinctive, very flavorful in a lot of ways. Like I'm seeing the gear, you know, the gear icons here, complete with like weathered metal looking appearance and everything. So I'm excited, like, because that stuff's just depth for me, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's more to get there
It's
beyond
more
the first
flavor.
playtest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here just like looking, like Dylan said, there's like 100 different pieces in this box, and one that you'll actually, if you purchase this and you see it, like you'll actually find like many of the minions in there, and these are your typical like shield minions that you would see in game in League of Legends, and the detail on them is extraordinarily good. They're very high quality, like it's a hard plastic, and like even like the kind of like the pieces that stick out a little bit that are normally the first things to get broken in any sort of like minifig game. Like they don't feel like they're gonna break off or snap off or anything like that. Like this is pretty high quality. Like I don't know if we're talking about pricing on this just yet, but like if I was to buy this like at my local game store, right, like I would expect to pay well over $100, like maybe even close to like $150 to $200 for something like this, based on the quality of games that I've bought in the past, right? And based on like the individual pieces, even the level of detail and the 4 characters that you can play, which are Tristana, Ziggs, Heimer, and who's the last one? Corky. So those 4 characters, like the 4 main characters that you can play, they come fully painted, fully detailed, like really beautiful paintwork actually on it.
That ain't nothing.
Oh, that's not that. Oh, you got something to show me?
There's a whole like little sub box here.
Oh, that's right. I keep on seeing this box. I never looked inside of it. What is?
It's the boss minion, dude. He's like a full freaking dreadnought. This is crazy. Like, he's huge.
Does this minion serve the God Emperor? Is that what's going on here?
We're gonna get sued.
So
Please don't sue us.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about the story behind him, because a lot of the game is kind of unlocked as you go.
Yeah, it's supposed to be progressive, right?
Yeah, like a legacy mechanic.
The boss actually is sealed. That box is sealed when it gets up, and it's when you open up the box. It says don't.
Yes.
Except there's like a plastic bubble in it through which you can see the axe. It's not enticing at all.
Well, you don't. Well, so that's actually really interesting that we have this kind of like, I guess, bonus character in this box that is sealed. Like you literally have to break the seal. It's got the little caution tape on it and everything. But the goal is that you actually, gosh, that axe is like just kind of like sitting there enticing you, isn't it? Yeah. What's the goal? You have to actually unlock this guy?
Yeah, he shows up actually a couple of missions in.
Okay.
So there are, all of the missions themselves are sealed in envelopes, so you can't just look through and see what's going to happen.
Well, you can. It's your game. But
well, sure.
Don't
But I mean,
but you shouldn't.
The guided experience is one at a time. See what happens. Every time you beat a mission, you get new options for each of the mechs. Sometimes there are new damage cards, things that make things tougher.
Yeah, I remember the additional mech capability unlocks was really fun, because it's not like a just straight power up experience. You're still limited. You have to choose between your options whenever you pick a mech. But it is so fun to unlock those prior to a new mission, which in some cases, like specifically, is like a great setup for that new capability you've unlocked. It's a really cool feeling. Again, just going back to that League parallel, like you get the level up feeling basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Like I'm looking at this and I'm seriously getting antsy to play the game.
So let's talk though. Okay, so like clearly there's a lot of love that went into this. It's kind of an interesting thing. So just stepping way back from what I know about how this came about. it seems like we pretty much locked you in a closet for a while, Chris, and said, "Hey, go mess around with board games."
Yes.
That's the dawn of it, if I'm correct.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
to a degree, we brought on a really talented designer to Riot about 3 years ago, named Stone the Brandy, and he has made board games for his family for like 20 years. Like all growing up, he would make like a new board game every Christmas or whatnot, and he's never published any of them. And he's an extremely accomplished designer. And we played one of them, and it just really clicked with us. We liked where it was headed. We liked the. I think a core part for me for games is, am I making interesting decisions like frequently? Like, all right, is this a fun puzzle for me to solve, or is it kind of solving itself, and then I'm just kind of playing what I should be doing? But it had a lot of choices. It had a lot of interesting mechanics. And we took that kernel and we tried to leverage what we saw its strengths were, and we kind of added a lot of stuff on top of it. And I don't know, I probably made it much worse. And then it was just kind of alone working on it for a bit. And we finally got an artist on, Danny Beck, who did all the art for the game, and it was just going really well, and I think we kind of felt like we landed on where the game was.
Sure. So this was very much just kind of like a loving side project for a couple. Not even a side project. This was your job, obviously,
right.
But for a couple dudes. Often, the shadowy CDEV building.
Right,
and so this was really churning for a while. So it sounds like it was like, when it's ready, it's ready. It's not like, all right, we need to make a board game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I imagine that it probably wasn't even certain that it would ever even go anywhere or ship.
Well, that's
or anything.
definitely true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
Okay. Cool. Well, that seems like a fun environment, actually, because it's just, let's keep making this thing better.
It was, and we kind of got to make ultimately the game that I think we were proud of, and I think we're hoping other people like it, but we'll find out.
So what about the logistics? What are we? I feel like this is not the type of thing that's going to show up in Target.
No.
Okay.
Well, honestly, in order to kind of, because we did pour a lot of cost into really high quality components, and in order to keep the cost down, so it's not like $200. I think typically these might be numbers that don't interest a lot of people, but usually in the board game industry, you're looking at like a 5 to 7x markup from your manufacturing costs once you factor in like.
Sorry, 5 to 7.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And retail markup is no joke.
Yeah, and I can break that down a bit too. Like if let's say you made a $10 game and you're like, oh, I need to get this, out there. You would have to hire a distributor, another
Sure.
company to kind of take your $10 game and maybe you would sell it to that distributor so that you made back the cost of manufacturing it. You sold it to them for like $16 or something like that.
Right.
And they would take that $16 game, and this is just back of the napkin, but they'd have to mark it up so they kept their cut, and then they would sell that to hobby stores all over the country for like $32, $33 or something like that. And then the hobby stores would take that and mark it up to like $60 or something
Wow.
like that.
Okay.
So it definitely jumps up pretty quickly. And one of the unique opportunities at Riot is we have a merch store that reaches kind of a lot of our players, global player base and whatnot. And we sat down and we were like, well, even if this is really successful, it's not like money was not really a core motivator. Like, oh, we got to get into the board game market so we can increase our bottom line or anything like that. It was really just a labor of love and something we wanted to kind of take pride in that way. So we poured a lot of that effort into the quality of the components, and if we sell it just through our merch store, we're able to get this game out for $75. So,
$75.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. How many did we make?
The initial run in English is 30,000 units.
Okay, cool.
So
this totally seems like kind of like you said. It's just this isn't an economic move or anything like that. It's just let's make this thing. Let's make enough that if people want it, they can do it. And we can see what the player reaction is. I can immediately see that if it's something that's enjoyed, we would have a lot of possibility for additional missions or even character mechs or stuff like that. And okay, that's really cool.
Yeah,
So
and that really speaks to the kind of the theme behind creative development too. Like when we do an album, we're not looking to like, oh, we're gonna get in all these album sales and that'll buoy us.
We're not trying to become the next Fantasy Flight.
No,
like, we're not trying to replace replace any of like the big board game companies out there.
No,
Good man. I don't need more of that juju in my life.
No, they're awesome games.
No, I know exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's just
you would be spending your entire paycheck on the product that we make. Right? It's pretty much what it would come down to. But it is. I mean, it is true. I think it's one of the luxuries that we have here at Riot is that we're able to pursue really cool things like this, like music videos, like things like little kind of one-off like mobile games that we did, like Blitzcrank Pro Roundup, and things like this board game, which is, like you said, very obviously something that we want. The reason that we're doing it, our motivation is something that's going to bring joy to players, right?
Yeah.
And we have that wherewithal to make things that aren't going to necessarily appeal to every player. In fact, maybe not even most of them.
Yeah.
Kind of like we even do with skins. We make everything from super badass epic ones all the way over to completely ridiculous ones.
Yeah.
It's that same thing here. This isn't going to be for everybody, but the people
Dylan,
it is for.
What is ridiculous about Baker Pantheon?
I'm
It's just a slice of life, man. That's
It's
who
just
he
a
is.
slice of
That's
life.
Awesome.
That's who Pantheon is.
Slice.
Wait, are we all dad joke range in
Oh,
here?
God,
Is it how? Okay,
Oh,
all
yeah.
right, cool. Yes.
so actually.
Don't worry, Dylan.
Terrifying.
You will grow into dad jokes. It will happen. So
We showed the game actually to some folks in the board game industry recently, and it was nice to kind of get some feedback
I was
from
nervous.
people outside.
I was so nervous.
It was nuts. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the nicest things that anybody said when they saw this was we had one guy who looked at it and he looked through the components and he said, "This is a gift. This is a gift to game players, to board game players."
wow,
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's flattering. It's almost humbling to hear. Did they have like, obviously we can't like talk about who you showed it to or anything like that, but was there any like really good feedback about the gameplay itself, like both critical and positive?
Well, we brought folks in early on. Well, actually, just before I actually joined the team. These two things are related. So
we thought we had the game finished about a year and a half ago. I think we were like, all right, let's move into manufacturing.
The gameplay.
Gameplay is done. We're good. We got the art. We got the cards. This is our game. And there were two people who like I have like 200 board games just in my car, and I probably own close to 1,200. Like I'm a huge.
I think you have a problem, man.
Yeah. No, my wife does too.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The problem is I need a bigger car.
The problem is you need a bigger room to store all the board games in. Right?
And two of the people that I really admire are Quentin Smith from Shut Up and Sit Down, just the Shut Up and Sit Down crew, and then Dice Tower, like Tom Vassell and stuff like that. They do video reviews and stuff like that. So as I'm looking for new games, I often kind of turn to both of them and kind of get their feedback. I'm like, oh, I guess I will buy that game, or oh, I won't buy that game. And because I just lean on them so heavily for that decision-making process, we reached out to both of them about a year and a half ago to make sure that we were making a game that we'd be proud of, that like the industry wouldn't look at and be like, this is embarrassing. And then we'd be like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And no, I mean, so we brought out Tom. Tom came first, and we showed him the game, and I at the time at least I think he really enjoyed it, and he gave us some really good kind of feedback on like the detail, like just very clever things that we could do to kind of streamline the experience and just made the game better. And he was like, yeah, I actually have a lot of confidence in this. I think you guys should ship it, and great work. And we were like, yeah, that's the answer I was hoping for. And it was just, it's kind of fanboying out to meet Tom. And then we already had kind of Quentin kind of scheduled to fly out. And at that point I was like, but we're good. We're set. And he came out and he played it. And he's talks in like this, it's got the British accent, and he's like, Chris, I'm not even gonna do the accent, but he's like, Chris,
Our British listeners, thank you.
Yeah. No
English
kidding.
listeners.
Yeah. He's like, I like it, and I'd be happy. Like I'm here for, you flew me out to LA. I'll be here for the next, day or two. So I'll do whatever you want. But to be honest, I'm not sure I'd play it again. And I was like,
Brutal.
oh, well, that's not the answer I was hoping for. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, well, there's just not, like, it was fun, but there's not really a desire to kind of keep playing. And I was like, well, is there anything you can think of to, and he's like, yeah, honestly, I would go and I would switch. At the time, it was just like one massive board. That's how kind of Stone had designed it. And he was like, I would turn it into kind of a campaign. I would make modular boards and kind of piece them together, and you can figure out different ways and kind of come up with different objectives and stuff like that. And the more he kind of kept talking about it, the group that was playtesting with them was like, yeah, this is you're right. And he was.
Yeah, you guys took that advice to heart. This game is modular as hell.
Yes,
it makes the completionist in me sweat.
yeah. There's a lot to it. And I remember thinking in the room, I was like, wow, that's, instead of designing one game, I'm going to design, 10. That's a lot more work, considering I thought it was almost done. And we had an interview kind of scheduled while Quentin was in town, and I got pulled away from it. So I was kind of frustrated because I was like, couldn't we have scheduled this on a different day? I'm so glad we didn't, because I went and met with Rick. And I remember telling him, I was like, if you had come 2 days ago, I would have said, sorry, bud, we don't really need this. We're good. But I had just come back from a meeting with Quentin, and he was like, yeah, I would suggest these design changes, and this is the direction I'd probably say you should take it. And so I was like, well, Rick, what's your experience with board games? And he's like, actually, I have a lot of experience with board games. And we brought Rick in, and he just had so many great contributions, like the damage deck and designing out all the missions and kind of variations on how you play it.
Chris downplays this, but that was like one of the worst interviews I ever had, because he was in such a bad mood because he had just gotten this critique from Quinn's, and I was pretty sure that he hated me. I walked out of there like, oh yeah, well, I'm never talking to Riot again.
Yeah.
But so that's interesting though. It's like, you came in with, originally, like you said, you were like, oh, the game is done, we're ready, ship it, it's good to go. But like, for you coming in, like, this had to be interesting, where the team had this preconceived notion that it was a done deal, but suddenly their entire perspective has been changed by an industry veteran giving you all some very hard feedback, some tough,
helpful
but useful feedback, right?
feedback. Yeah.
Some very tough but helpful feedback, right? So like, how much has the game fundamentally changed since you came on board, Rick?
It's a little bit. Chris has given me. Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's pretty different. The core changes that Chris was describing, the switch to a modular board, a scenario based, they had the beginnings there. There were no scenarios, but we had a modular board, and so we're like, what can we do with this? And so from there, we had to build in all of that progression system as well. So not only did we have to design 10 scenarios, 10 games, as Chris puts it, but we had to give you something new in each one, and we had to create some way where the players' abilities would grow, so that all of those schematics that allow you to customize and give each of the mechs their own flavor, that all had to be added on top of this. And when I came on, we didn't really know what any of that was going to look like. Chris didn't know what any of that was going to look like, so we weren't really sure like how much work was ahead. And so it started off, it was like a very short time, and it's like spend a little bit of time here, and it was, at first it was just a couple days at a time, and at the end, so I basically had a couple of days to make some improvements and buy myself some more time. So then at the end of the 2 days, Chris would be like, all right, I guess I won't kill you this time.
So how big did the team end up?
Thank you. By the way, thank you for the Princess Bride.
Sleep well.
I'll likely kill you in the morning.
Exactly. It's my favorite movie. I'm sorry, Chris.
No worries. The team, I think, well, and
a lot of people have touched it.
Yeah,
but,
sure. But like core size at any time?
I think the
like
core size
6.
probably 5 or 6 at the most.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
But then, like, to be
Super
fair, we would
intimate.
bring in people like you. Like,
Sure,
we brought in, probably a couple hundred playtesters, you
Wow.
know, because we
Holy
have
crap.
so many gamers at Riot.
Yeah.
And playtesting is what you need more than anything else to make sure a game is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it might be fun for Rick and I, and we're like, yeah, we made it. So yeah, this game is
my
great.
God.
And then
Yeah.
show it to other people, and they're like, I don't know what to do, or like,
When we first put
This
this
is
in
not
front of other
fun.
people and weren't actually like guiding
Teaching,
them through the
yeah.
process and just letting them read the rule book and figure it out, those were stressful days.
those were learning opportunities, is
sure.
what those
That
were.
was painful.
Yeah.
I wanted
I
to
bet.
run into the room and it's like, no, not like that.
Yeah.
So you all had like, and that's actually really valid, true, because it's like, you know, you don't want to like correct somebody who's testing your game, like, because
That's
want
no
them,
good.
you want to see how they naturally are inclined to using it, and that helps you know if your design is actually intuitive or not. Like,
Right.
It's an important distinction to make. So like,
Right.
if somebody's doing it the wrong way, well, they aren't doing it the wrong way. You presented them to them in a way that is not clear.
That's
Right. Well, and in
completely
some
correct.
cases, it's interesting because you'll see that'll show you what's intuitive. And sometimes you change the rules so that it's like, okay, well, that's what people expect to do.
It's very true.
That's
Probably
that's
what we
the,
should be
That's
doing.
what the new
Yeah.
rule
I
is.
think
Yeah,
I think
that's what we'll do.
I think I remember an instance of that where one of the cards, you know, our group decided that we were like, this doesn't seem like it should work that way. And then the next playtest we came back, you're like, all right, we've changed it, guys.
It
Yeah,
works that
I mean,
way.
well, you
now.
have to,
Right.
you have to take that feedback
Yeah.
if you want to do something great.
So that's gotta be cool though with that size of group. That I mean, you guys you can see your fingerprints all over the thing that you've created in the end. I know working, you know, mostly on League stuff. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, what do I even do here? Just because it's so big and there's so many people pouring all of their effort into it and everything. So it's gonna be really cool having such a small group here.
So I guess one kind of like closing question for both of you, like how difficult was it? And I'd love to hear both your takes on this. How difficult was it to kind of translate something like League of Legends, like this game that's played by millions of people worldwide, that is, I think for core gamers at least, to something that's a very familiar feeling and a familiar sight, like an familiar experience. How difficult, or what were the challenges that you faced in translating that into a board game experience?
And to add on that, not to make the question too big, I'm curious specifically how we end up with Mechs versus Minions. You know, you tell me, oh, we have a League board game. I might think of a couple things, and I'm curious how it got to that and kind of the tone that this game has.
Well, I think one of the important things was, you know, and this decision was made before I joined, but we didn't want to make League of Legends the board game because we have
Gotcha.
League of Legends.
Yeah,
and
we already
that's
have League for that.
You know, that's what we really want to do, and this is generally something we want to do in CDev in general. Is we want to show different aspects of the world and different ways to interact with the characters and Runeterra, and so we wanted to capture some of the things that people love about playing League: the teamwork, the growth, really hardcore difficulty, but
the yordles.
the yordles. Yeah, that's kind of a, you know, some people react well to that.
Your mileage may vary.
Exactly. Well, you know, the yordles really fit well for this thematically also because the game is, you know, it's not like Battletech sort of mecha, right? It's not like super serious, giant, destructive things. These are kind of ridiculous. When you first start a game, you know, a lot of times you might be spinning around in a corner shooting off, you know, flamethrowers at nothing. It feels ridiculous. You know, if we're trying to portray this as, you know, really nasty mechs, that doesn't work. But for a yordle mech, that totally works.
Yeah.
And so the challenge was taking some of the things that players love about League and the world and reinventing it in a very different format that still felt like it has, you know, it still lives in the same universe.
Okay. And Chris, same question for you.
I mean, I could speak to, like, I was in the room when we made the call with the Yordles. So we had a programming game that came to us from Stone, and one of the things that happens during the game is as you get damaged from, at the time, I think it was zombies, but now like minions, as you get damaged, you start going a little haywire and you'll like run off in the wrong direction. You'll do other stuff. So when we were thinking like, okay, programming game, one of the first things we jumped to was like Blitzcrank or Oriana, and just because they're robotic characters. But we quickly found that it felt really frustrating. If I'm Blitzcrank and I'm running into a wall, that was like the highest level of like, I want to be doing, and it didn't really kind of embody the whimsical nature of the game in a way that, so then we landed on Rumble, and like Rumble kind of is like a you know, scrapyard titan. He's like kind of make and do, and that really fit the theme of the game well. But then we were like, well, if we have Rumble in the game and then we have like these other Yordles, why would anyone, play a different Yordle if you could be Rumble?
Okay.
And so we decided that Rumble was going to open up a school for Mechs, and then he invites out, Corky, Tristana, Heimerdinger, and Ziggs.
That makes a ton of sense.
And now when you're playing and you're kind of drafting new cards, Rumble is like the narrative to kind of push you from mission to mission, and like that story arc, and he kind of guides there, and the voice of like teaching you the game and stuff. But then as you're running into a wall, it feels more whimsical and absurd.
Yeah.
Or as you're
in this janky looking mech. I mean, they look awesome and cool, but it's not surprising that they would go haywire.
Yes.
I didn't realize the degree to which this story you guys had built around this was making me feel okay with that, because you do end up just jamming into a wall sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
When you've got like four malfunctions on you from getting beat up and all that type of stuff. There's so much fun stuff though. I think my favorite thing that has come out of this, and this is maybe just a happy thing that Mechs versus Minions, kind of an inherently silly thing, allows is that you guys have such fun with the cards. There's obviously the very straightforward tactical ones, but a lot of the malfunction stuff just gets ridiculous. Tell me you still have my favorite card.
Yes.
It's
Radio silence.
Oh, okay, I've told you the story then. Yes, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Where you can only say one word.
Yeah, but it only unlocks. So we unlock stuff behind gates.
Spoiler.
Yeah. This is definitely
Fingers
a
in
spoiler.
your ears.
But it unlocks when you unlock hard mode at the end of beating the mission. So
yeah.
That's one of my favorite cards.
Sliding
too.
around on oil and stuff like that. There's a lot of ridiculous fun to be had.
Don't give it all away, man. I'm really looking forward to learning how to play this. So on that note, we're getting up against time. I know you all have another podcast to record with some folks. We don't want to spoil that either. But,
Right.
But thank you so much, Rick and Chris, for stopping
Absolutely.
by. We
Our
really
pleasure.
appreciate this. If you're interested in picking up Mechs versus Minions, you can get it on the URL. Okay, great. So it's going to be on the Riot merch store, and you can just go to merch.riotgames.com.
There should also be some type of we're recording this ahead of time. Obviously, there should be some type of like little mini site up or something.
There'll be like a mini site.
It's
So
Mechs
go
versus
check that
Minions.
out if you need more info.
Yeah, it's mechsversusminions.com.
You have the URL already?
Wow. Already
We're on top of it.
Stuff.
I mean, you kind of need to like secure
Well-oiled
the
machine.
the URL
Yeah,
ahead
I
of
guess
time.
that's a good
before,
point.
yeah,
I work in publishing. You'd think I'd know that.
You would think. That explains a lot, Dylan. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what it explains. I'm just saying things. Now I sound like Jim Gaffigan. I don't know what's going on here. So anyways.
Play me off, Jim.
Play me on. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
out.
for having us.
And, hey, it's our pleasure. Look forward to playing this game. Mechsversusminions.com. Be sure to check out the live stream that we're going to be doing with a live demo of this. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's in the works right now. If you're listening to the podcast at home, thank you so much to all of you listening at home. We really appreciate all of your time and your passion and your excitement around things like this. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes. That helps out immensely. We would love it if you guys gave us a review, good or bad. All good either way, but just give us a review. We'd really appreciate it. Also, we're on Stitcher as well, and of course, you can always follow our SoundCloud page. Dylan, do you want to say anything?
This is my box, right? I can take this box.
No.
You don't have to fight me for it. So
I need a
until next
weapon.
time, everybody, thanks so much. We'll see you later.
Bye.